Hey guys, and welcome to today's video where I am taking apart Drogos' old tank. We're removing the cleanup crew, taking apart the background, and preparing the tank to be stored. Now if you didn't know, Drogo recently got an upgrade, so I'll leave a link here and below so you can check out the build where I go from like putting the flat packed tank together, building the background, doing the drainage layer, planting the whole tank. So it's all there if you want to learn more about how to build your own tank. Now before we begin, I did just want to give a quick shout out to Wildlife Collections. They're a great shop that helps support wildlife conservation. So basically, you can choose to support turtles, elephants, polar bears, sharks or orcas. When you buy a piece of jewellery, 10% of the profits will go towards a non-profit organisation that they're partnered with. Not to mention, when you get your jewellery, it will come with a card that gives you information about the animal you're supporting, along with a QR code so you can track that animal in the wild. If you use Leo20, you'll receive 20% off of your order. So go over to wildlifecollections.com and choose your mission. Now back to Drogos' tank. So first I removed any old food bowls that the cleanup crew had been eating out of, as well as a bit of inch plant that was left in the tank. Now I have actually removed a lot of the plants from here. If you follow me on TikTok, you'll see that I removed the golden pothos vine. I chopped it up and propagated it. So this is why the tank is looking quite bare. Next, I pulled on the branch at the bottom and it came away worryingly easily. I did put a bit of pressure on it, but yeah, it just pulled away. The branch itself was hollow in places, and I believe a lot of isopods actually were living in there. So instead of disturbing them, trying to force them out, I did actually pop the whole branch in the container that I'll be housing some of the cleanup crew in so they can continue to use it. One thing I found a lot of in the tank was spiders. Now, I knew they lived in here and it's quite common for them to do so, but there was a lot. Like, there were egg sacs, which every now and again we get like an invasion of baby spiders, so you know, that wasn't too shocking. There was also dead isopods and even some dead crickets. So these spiders were living their best lives in this tank. And trust me, I don't want them in here. Like, I never put them in here, but it happens. And there's just so many. And they can crawl like behind the background that it's just impossible to get rid of them all. Next up was scooping out the cleanup crew and dirt. So some of the cleanup crew will end up in the big container. Some will end up in Drogos' tank and a few in Lyra's. Now what's really interesting, and you probably won't believe it, but it is honestly true, and you could probably look back at my old videos. So initially I put giant orange isopods in Lyra's tank, and I took about 8 to 10 individuals and put in Drogos. So yes, these are unbelievably inbred, but there are hundreds. The floor is crawling. Some would say adding 8 to 10 cleanup crew, like isopods, in a tank is not enough. You'd probably be right. But whatever is going on in Drogos' tank, it worked because he did have some grey powdered isopods in here, but I didn't find any when clearing this out. So I can only imagine that the giant orange ones outcompeted the grey ones for like food. So yeah, it as you can see, it's absolutely crawling with isopods that just started off with those 8 or 10 individuals, and you can see there's really big ones, there's babies, there's pregnant ones, you could call them pregnant, they have brood pouches. So you know, the next generation is on its way. Now, one thing I've noticed since moving Drogo is he's actually lost a bit of weight, and I think I know why. So, I believe he eats his cleanup crew, which is fine because as you can see, we have more than enough. That's why I don't mind some of the spiders getting them. There's just so many, and though I don't see him actively hunt them, I would always find him near the bottom of the tank at night staring at them. And then sometimes you'd hear this like launch across the tank and he's down by the dirt. So I think he would self-supplement because the isopods are a great source of calcium, and chihuahuas need a fair bit of calcium and they love insects. So I think he would eat, between his like Pangea meals and when I give him insects, I think he'd eat some of his isopods. So I'm interested to see if there will be a significant weight change now that he has cleanup crew again in his tank. Once all the isopods were moved out into their tub, into Drogos tank, into Lyra's, I did give the soil a good water because it is actually quite dry. And I also added moss and a leaf litter. Now, I waited to put in the cleanup crew so the plants could get established, so we have a bit of waste going on in the tanks and stuff for them to eat. But I definitely missed having a cleanup crew in here. And to be honest, because I did watch Dylan's podcast, the Animals at Home one with John Courtney Smith, and they talk about bioactive tanks. I'm not sure if I was meant to put on the cleanup crew first, but just knowing Drogo's cleanup crew, like, they would destroy the tank. They would probably eat the plants. So this is why I did it this way around for me, and as you can see, they're already very established, they're already very successful, so hopefully that continues in this tank. Finally, we got down to the drainage fleece. As you can see, dirt and roots did get through this, but that's absolutely fine. When I got this deep down, because it was so dry, there weren't really any isopods, so I did just remove that drainage layer, and I'll be keeping it for future use in plant pots. Once the bottom of the tank was clear, I started to remove the background, because I figured this way, now it's clear, if any isopods do drop down, they'll be easy to find. Removing the background was surprisingly tough. I tried to loosen it up by removing some of the expanding foam, like carving it down, but eventually I had to just apply a bit more pressure. Finally, it was all off, so I went around with a little tool to remove any silicone. To clean the glass, I first wetted the sides and then I threw bicarbonate of soda on it, also sometimes known as baking soda. I did try to get it on the sides, but I'll be honest, a lot of it dropped to the floor. I then sprayed the sides with white vinegar. This is quite a good method for cleaning glass, and since nothing will be moving in here anytime soon, I figured it would be fine to do. Though this isn't perfectly clean, there are still a few marks on the glass. If I use this tank again in the future, I would probably once again build a background so it would be covered anyway. So yeah, that's how to take apart a tank and relocate the cleanup crew. I know when I was doing Drogo's tank, a lot of people said, what's going to happen to his old tank? What's going to happen to his old cleanup crew? And there was a point where I was tempted to keep it going and grow plants in there and maybe have it pre-prepared if I ever get another future arboreal gecko or maybe a frog, I don't know. But actually when I saw, once Drogo moved out and I saw the foam and everything, it looked quite battered, so I think I'd want to redo it anyway. So I thought it would be best to clear it out. Plus, Drogo needed a cleanup crew, so why not just move his old one in. So yeah, I hope this video has helped. Remember to check out wildlifecollections.com and use code LEO20 for 20% off. But thank you for watching, guys, and goodbye.